Hey guys, it's Asha. Welcome back to Reading with Toby. Today I finally have a wrap up for you guys. I did not make a wrap up for the month of May because I went into the biggest reading slump. I only completed 2 books for the month of May, so I thought that seems kind of pointless. So I thought I would just combine May and June books together so I have a little bit more to talk about. So like I said, May I read 2 books, and then in July I read, how many books? I read 1, 2, 3, 4 books. So I was in a reading slump in May, and then I fell into a book hangover in June. So my reading hasn't been the greatest, but that's okay. We're gonna talk about them anyway. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So for May, the very first book I read, I think this is what put me in my reading slump, honestly. That was Valentine by Elizabeth Wetmore. This was one of my, sorry, Toby's playing if you hear him. This was one of my most anticipated releases for 2020. It just sounded really good and the cover caught my eye. I was super excited to read it. This book is following this small town in Texas in the 70s after a Mexican girl is brutally raped. You follow various perspectives throughout the small town, all of them being women, one being the girl that was raped. And yeah, I thought this was, I mean, it literally, okay. Told through the alternating points of view of indelible characters who burrow deep in the reader's heart, this fierce, unflinching, and surprisingly tender novel illustrates women's strength and vulnerability and reminds us that it is the stories we tell ourselves to keep us alive. So that little bit made me believe that this was going to be like a heart-wrenching feminist novel about, you know, like all these women coming together, the, you know, like women power basically. No, I didn't get that at all. So I was very much disappointed with this. I did do an entire reading vlog for this. If you want to see more of my thoughts, I will link that for you guys. But yeah, I was pretty disappointed with this. I ended up giving this 2 out of 5 stars. I can look at this and see that it's not like a bad book and that some people would like it, but for me personally, I didn't really care for it. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way, mainly because you get this perspective of the girl that's raped. It is like horrible. What happens to her is brutal. It is terrible. And then you switch perspectives to these women, and they're all white women in the rest of the small town, and some of them barely mention the rape. They know about it because it's such a small town. They all know about it. They're kind of connected in some way, but some of them barely mention it, barely say anything about it, don't seem to feel that bad about it. Some of them do, some don't. Like, there's one perspective, you're literally following her. I can't even remember her mentioning anything about the rape, but she was sitting there talking about her selling Avion makeup products. I don't want to read about these other women's lives when something tragic happened and they know about it. You know, that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So I wasn't enjoying it. I had to force myself to finish it, but it was still written well, and I can see why people would like this. I think it's just your preference if that's what you wanted from the book, which is what I was looking for. Now, if this book didn't have the rape aspect and you were just following the small town, all these women, like, I could enjoy that. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just the fact that you had this terrible incident, especially that it was like a Mexican girl and then all these white women, some of them not caring about it. I just was like, what are you trying to say with this? Do you know what you're doing? I don't know. So like, yeah, that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I don't really have anything else to say about this. That's it, I'm done. All right, so after that, like I said, that put me in a reading slump. So I was trying multiple books, and then I finally picked up The Base Rock by Evie Wilde. I got this as an ARC from NetGalley, and it comes out next month, I believe, in the US. It's already out in the UK. I heard a lot of people on BookTube, specifically UK booktubers, talk about this book and really enjoy it, so I thought I would try it, and I got the ARC. It was free, so why not? And I really like this. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. So this book is set in Scotland, and you're following 3 different perspectives in 3 different timelines. One perspective, a woman is being accused of being a witch. One perspective is set like post-World War II, and she joins this new family, becomes a stepmother. And then perspective 3 is set in present day, and the young girl has just lost her dad. They're all kind of connected in some way. It takes place, like I said, on this in Scotland, like on the sea where the base rock is, and it was like very eerie, kind of gothic like, because there is this like ominous house that's a major part of the story. And yeah, it just kind of felt like like very gothic like, and I really liked it. And the house had like some haunted house vibes, some ghosts kind of going on, and I really like that aspect a lot. So interspersed between those timelines, you get these details of this like brutal, violent acts against women that happen, which sounds kind of weird, but I think that was the point of the book, just about how all women just kind of feel this presence at like any time something violent can happen to us, and like we all, that's something that connects us all. This is what I got from the book. And that is something that connects us all, right? Is that like we go outside and we all know that at any time something terrible can happen to us. We can be on a date and we know that something violent can happen to us, and that's just something that kind of connects us all. So I really enjoyed this book. I thought the writing was done really well. I thought all the storylines were done really well. Very interesting, kind of strange. And I like how they were all connected. I just especially loved the house aspect, and I'm starting to learn that I'm really like these gothic haunted houses. I already knew I love ghost stories, but like these gothic haunted house kind of vibes, I love it. So I'm definitely looking for more books that are like that. If you know of any, let me know, because yeah, that was like one of my favorite aspects of that. So I definitely recommend this book if you are interested. All right, so those are all the books that I read in May. Going on to June, the first book that I picked up, which I was so excited about, this book is now definitely one of my all-time favorite books. Like, I freaking loved it. I just loved it. I loved it. That is Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. Oh my gosh, I absolutely loved this book. This book was amazing, incredible, so good. So good, so good, so good, so good, so good, so good. Okay, so this is an African-inspired fantasy. It's inspired by African mythology and folklore, and you're following this guy named Tracker. And Tracker is known to have a nose, and he can literally sense things, kind of know where people are, see the paths that they took, and he gets hired to find this lost boy. And that's kind of where the story like starts, and then of course it just like goes like this, and there's so many mysteries, and he's uncovering all these different things about who the boy actually is, what actually happened to the boy, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and more political and more wild, and you go to all these different lands, and it is just crazy. Marlon James came up with some of the most wild things ever, like creatures, places, magic powers. Like, it was just crazy. It was insane what happened in this book, but I absolutely loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Yeah, so this book, I can definitely see people would not like this. This is definitely not a book that I would recommend to just anyone, because it's very violent, it's very graphic, explicit, cursing, trigger warnings for everything. So yeah, it's definitely not a book for everyone. I think if you're on the more sensitive side, you wouldn't be able to handle this. If you don't really like writing that you kind of have to work for to understand what's happening, I don't think you'll like it, because it's not like the easiest thing to understand. I don't know how to explain his writing style. It's just a little different. And yeah, you have to work a little bit, but I loved it, like I said. So yeah, I don't really have too much to say, just that I absolutely loved it. And I definitely recommend, if you are interested in finding a very unique and wild African-inspired fantasy, I thought this was brilliant, like absolutely brilliant. I love Marlon James now. I want to read his other works. I just thought it was amazing. So good. Oh, and there's also Tracker is queer. I don't want to label him, but he is a queer character, which was nice. But like, I don't want to say go read it, just because I know that not everyone would like this book. This is one of those books that I know a lot of people wouldn't like it. And if you do decide to try it, you will have to push through the first 50 pages, because I literally had no idea what was going on. I still can't tell you what happened in the first 50 pages. I don't know, but I could just tell that like it was something that I was liking. I don't know, so I just pushed through it, and then you'll see if you like it. Absolutely brilliant, brilliant book, new favorite, loved it. So after that book definitely put me in a book hangover, because I didn't even want to read another book. I just wanted to keep thinking about it, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. Can't stop thinking about Tracker. Like, I still think about him. I just love that book so much. So I had a little 24-hour readathon to try to push me to read more books before the end of the month, because then I would have had only read one book for the month of June. So I will link the 24-hour readathon, or talk about all of these books and read them in more detail. So I'm not going to talk too much about them now, but I ended up reading 2.5 books, and I have completed the third one now. So I ended up reading On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Buang, and this is a literary novel following this boy. He is writing, or man, he's writing a letter to his mom, just kind of talking about his experience being her son, being queer, being Vietnamese American, being mixed, half Asian and half white, and just all of that he kind of puts into a letter to his mom. And yeah, it was like beautifully written, but I only gave this 3 out of 5 stars. As I got towards the end, it just kind of, I don't know what was happening. It just kind of got all over the place. He would switch timelines. Like on one page, he would be talking about 2 different events, and it just got a little confusing. And I don't know. I just stopped liking it towards the end. I was like loving it in the middle. You can even see I have some tabs here, but you can also see that like towards the end I stopped because I just didn't know what was happening. So yeah, I definitely think if you like literary fiction, you love beautiful writing, this is definitely like exactly what you would look for. I definitely recommend it. It's not a bad book or anything, but just had to give it 3 out of 5 stars because towards the end it just kind of got all over the place. So there's that one. And my battery is flashing at me. Oh no. All right, the next book I finished was All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. This was amazing. This is a YA nonfiction memoir manifesto, and George M. Johnson is basically just detailing his experience being Black and queer in America. And yeah, it was just great. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It's amazing that it even exists, that teens have access to this, that they can like see themselves in a book and get advice from someone who is like them. I don't know. This book was just, it was great. It brought me to tears multiple times. I wasn't like crying, but the tears came and like swelled up my eyes because it was just so heartwarming. And yes, I loved how he wasn't afraid to tell it like it is. He wasn't afraid to share the oppression that Black people feel, talk about racism, talk about police brutality. He wasn't afraid to put it out there and tell it like it is. But it was also a positive message that he had for his readers, which I really appreciated. Yeah, this was just fantastic. I think everyone should go to read this. You'll learn something, you'll gain something from it. I definitely did. And like I said in that vlog, I also think that parents who have teens that are queer would also gain something from this and see, you know, something through their eyes if they are finding it hard to kind of understand them. I think that would also be great. So basically everyone and anyone can gain something from this book. It was great. All right, the last book that I completed in June was My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyukan Braithwaite. Oh my god, I freaking love this book. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was amazing, 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 amazing. I actually started reading this book in January, but I was on my OB-GYN rotation and I was just way too busy to read anything. I didn't read any books, complete any books in January. So I finally decided to finish this because I thought I could in that 24 hours. And yeah, I was loving it in January. I loved it when I finished it, gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So this book, you are following 2 sisters in Nigeria, and it is exactly like it says. One is a serial killer. She keeps killing off her boyfriends, and the other sister kind of like has to help her clean up and deal with the aftermath of all that. And it was just so good. You get that like sister relationship, family relationships, loving relationships, and yeah, I just loved it. It's told in these little vignettes, like super short. Let me see if I can find like a short one so you guys can see, like just told in these little vignettes here. And I just thought it was so good. Like you can see how short it is there. I don't know, there's something to me, if you can tell such a great story with great characters and I can visualize everything, feel everything in like short little vignettes, that's like says something to me. I love that. So definitely recommend this if you are looking for, if you're just looking for a great book. But yeah, I highly recommend this. This was amazing. Okay, my battery died in case anything changed, but those are all of the books that I read in May and June. These are all of the books that I read in May and June, including Base Rock by Evie Wild. Yeah, I think pretty good. I found a new all-time favorite, another 5-star, and we got a disappointing read, but that's okay. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this wrap up. Let me know if you guys want to read any of these books or if you read them. Let me know, and I will catch you guys in my next video. Bye!